Antoine Massey broke out of a New Orleans prison for the third time and was on the run for 6 weeks. Thankfully, nobody was hurt in the time that he was able to roam the streets as a free man.
Captured this afternoon, according to the U.S. Marshal's Office. Antoine Massey, who has been known for making social media posts as he's been on the run. He was one of the 10 inmates who escaped from the Orleans Justice Center several weeks ago now. He and Derek Groves were the only 2 remaining still on the run. But this afternoon, we have learned at WWL Louisiana that Antoine Massey has been recaptured. We just got off the phone moments ago with the U.S. Marshal's Office. They confirmed to us here at WWL Louisiana that he is, in fact, back in custody, that he was taken back into custody in the Holly Grove neighborhood. And investigative reporter Mike Pearlstein.
Hey, let me tell you something, man. This dude was the hide and seek champion. Of course, the other guy that they haven't caught, he's pretty good as well. But this dude, Antoine Massey, was posting Instagram videos, celebrating his birthday, all types of stuff. Like, this dude was actively on social media for 6 weeks. He was posting videos, like they just showed him in an apartment where he was telling them, hey, I'm innocent. Look at all of this paperwork that I have. This guy was so good that the deputy chief for the New Orleans Police Department said, we will hire a lawyer for you if you just turn yourself in. Now, we're going to get back into what the investigative reporter has to say. So let's check this out.
Is joining me on the set this afternoon. You just got off the phone with them. Tell me what else you know. This happened in Holly Grove, as I mentioned?
Right, in the 9400 block of Strolitz, not far from the Costco on the way to Metairie Road. This was all within the past hour, so this is very fresh news and information. Antoine Massey was found inside of a residence. He was alone. He, according to Brian Fair of the U.S. Marshal Service, he was captured without incident. In fact, he gave himself up once surrounded by law enforcement. This actually came from a Crime Stoppers tip, Katie. So we know that a $50,000 reward had been offered for some weeks now. They had been waiting on tips.
Hey, don't do them like you did the guy that ratted out Luigi Mangione. That dude did not get his money. They said, oh, you called the wrong line. You're supposed to call the FBI. You called the FBA. That's a joke. I didn't have another organization to say. Don't do this guy that's supposed to get the $50,000 for turning in this potentially violent criminal. Don't do him wrong. Make sure he gets his money, or it's going to de-incentivize people from making these types of tips, right? Because you might be putting yourself at risk trying to make a call, and the neighborhood might not like that. Because for whatever reason, a lot of people love criminals. A lot of people love, no matter what they did. This guy was a woman beater. He's broken out of jail 3 times. And we don't want to de-incentivize people from reporting crimes and keeping our neighborhood safe. So give this person their money, give them their reward for turning him in.
In fact, pursuing some of them unsuccessfully until today. This tip panned out. Somebody will be collecting $50,000. It came through Crime Stoppers. Other agencies involved, the U.S. Marshals were kind of leading the search.
Yes.
But instrumental and at this residence were representatives of the New Orleans Police Department, Louisiana State Police, U.S. Marshals, of course, along with JPSO, not far from the Jefferson Parish border.
That's right on the line.
They assisted. Obviously, they were taking, no chances or risks with these. This particular escaped inmate being considered potentially armed, potentially dangerous.
Yes.
But it ended peacefully. He's now back in custody. Obviously, he'll be facing a charge of escape in addition to the previous charges for which he was being held at the Orleans Justice Center of domestic violence that included rape.
Yes, absolutely. Now, this area that we were looking at on your screen, this is a map where that house is, where Antoine Massey, one of the Orleans Justice Center escapees, was taken back into custody. If you're just joining us, that happened just a few moments ago. This area is really not too far from Xavier University's campus, which may be a bit unnerving for some parents out there who may be watching this, to know that Antoine Massey was hiding out in a house right there, not that far from the Costco, where a lot of people frequent. Hundreds, thousands of people go through that Costco every day.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pause this. I'm not even familiar with this area over in New Orleans, But what I will say is, last week I had made a video about the guy that was captured up in, I believe it was Minnesota, right? The guy that went in Democrats, the guy that got the Democrats. I was saying, how did they dedicate all the resources to go find that guy? They dedicated resources back when they found Luigi Mangione out of Pennsylvania, but they weren't dedicating resources and manpower to find this guy, right? And I'm glad that he's caught. I'm glad that he's caught. I'm glad that he turned himself in. Well, I'm glad he turned himself over without incident, right? Because when you have somebody whose back is against the wall, this guy already escaped jail or prison 3 times. He doesn't want to be captured. He doesn't want to be there. So what is he going to do? Anything to keep himself free. So sometimes that means if somebody gets in his way, he thinks somebody is going to be given a tip, he might hurt that person. Thankfully, this went off without incident. He's back in custody. And I know at least one of his things was domestic violence. They said some other things that were associated with the facility that he's being kept in. So make sure this guy doesn't get out this time. Don't allow him to be out here bribing people so he can open up the toilet and crawl out and bribing the super to turn the water off. We've got to do a better job. You got to get these facilities cleaned up. You got to pour some money into them to make them safe.